This is Diane with Bolan-Beaty Boogie. I asked Marc, what do you want to do about the show this week? I said, I've been very challenged in my own life, especially being in the state where the military's been called into. And we did talk about unification. And I said, at this point in time, I'm just not very flexible in my viewpoints. I'm pretty much sticking to one side versus the other. And so I don't know if that's what prompted the show today, but I know Spirit always talks about what we want to hear, whether or not we realize it or not, or want to. So I think it's a great show. I was very surprised to hear who our guests were going to be. Marc didn't have too long to talk to them today, but after the fact, I did speak with the afterlife energy of Jesus, and I said, what do you think about a lot of people and organizations and groups, calling themselves Christian this or Christian that, and yet they don't really seem to be doing what I would perceive to be what your teachings were or how you felt about things. And I'm not at all up to, what those were necessarily, just in general. And I have read a few things, but just interacting with his energy, I get a sense of who he was and what he wanted to share with everyone in that lifetime. And he said, yes, that's true. He said, it's a term, and it's a convenient term that some people use in order to bring about notoriety, necessarily. So it's a term, if you put that out there, everyone's going to have their own viewpoint of what that means. And so he said it's really important when somebody's using that term to look into it further and decide whether or not it's a form of Christianity or teachings that you want to join yourself with or not. So he said it's important that the individual decide for him or herself or themselves what teachings they're following, or if it is really part of what energy you want to bring into your life and your existence. And he also wanted to bring up that the images that you see of him are nothing what he didn't look like that. He didn't look like that. So he wanted to make that point for some reason, and he's showing me what he looked like in that life, and no, it's not at all what the images are. So he just wanted to share that much with us. So I hope you enjoy the show. Again, we do have a website, www.channelingmarc.com. There's a lot of interviews on there. There's a lot of interdimensional travel. Marc talks a lot about who he was as Marc Bolan. So take a look if you get a chance. Yeah. Hello. Yeah, I'm here. Oh, yeah. We had a little flub. Yeah. Yep. But I made it in. Okay. Hello, everyone. This is Marc. You may know me as Marc Bolan from the rock band T-Rex, and I am now channeling through Diane's body, and have been for quite a while now, right? Yeah. So I've got my friends in the studio here with me. And yeah, well, let's start the show because I think we've got a really wonderful show this week, okay? Yeah, well, it's been back and forth a little bit about the topic for the show. But I always check in with, so Spirit checks in with the universe and with especially the planet Earth, okay? And all of you on Earth. And to see what you want to talk about. Yeah, we can do that. We can actually do that. We can read the vibe of the planet, read the vibe of the humans, the majority of humans. And, well, yeah, because we like to talk about current topics, okay? Well, yeah, we're in Spirit, you're in current time, okay? So, yeah, you don't think much about the past, or the future. No, it's all happening at the same time. So we tend to look at that energy. Okay, so let's start the show. We have some guests. Yeah. So the topic of today's show is it's human division, okay? And bringing that together. Okay, why does it happen? And, and how can you go about bringing that division back together, putting it, making a whole, okay? And why is that well, obviously, that would be the ideal place to be, right? To have humans united and not divided. But there is obviously a lot of energy on the earth that is causing division, and so we would like to look at that. And our guests are very, very, very prominent in the field of joining energies together. Okay, and so we want to talk to them and bring them in. Okay, yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah, they are. They are very much heroes of mine. Well, yeah. One of them, of course, when I was Marc. The other one, but yeah. No. Very, very important. Very, very important. And and when you go back to spirit, they do have different personas. They do have different personalities. So yeah, so take that into account. Okay, as do all of us. Okay, so yeah, I just want to point that out. Okay, yeah, when you head back to spirit, you do have some of the persona you had when you were in a physical life, okay? But you are joined with a lot of other energies, okay, of who you are. So you are not going to be a replica in spirit. I mean, like, some of your personality traits are going to be heightened. And if you had a really strong personality trait or feeling or opinion or something you were particularly... that meant a lot to you in that life, then that more often than not, that will probably continue into spirit. Yep. Okay, so that's why we're bringing our two guests on the show today. Are they here? Oh, the scouts are bringing them in. We have spirit scouts who when we travel, they look at the energy, make sure everything's safe, and then they also bring in guests. Okay, yeah, they're coming back. They're coming back with them. Yeah, well, we do have a secret kind of lair cave here, up in the spirit realms, and well, we do. Yeah, we do. Okay, here they come. Thank you. Yeah, the scouts are bringing them in. Okay. Yep. Welcome to the show. Yeah. Please get settled. Yeah, we want to get on with the show as fast as we can. Okay. Well, no, there's no time, but well, Diane. Well, I'm in the physical right now, so well, there is still no time, but Diane's body, can't sustain my energy for too long. Okay, here we go. Hey, welcome. Here you are. Welcome to the show. No, we've met before. Yeah, we've met before, so I don't need to, but I will introduce you to our audience. Okay, so on my left here I have, well, neither of you needs really introductions, but I have the spirit energy who was Elvis Presley in the physical. Right. And applause. Right. Yeah. As you well know, you were one of my musical heroes when I was Marc, and very much an inspiration for me. Yeah. And I thank you for that. Yeah. And yeah, by the way, even though you are both larger than life, not characters, but beings or persons or personalities on Earth, you are very actually humble. Okay. Well, yeah, Elvis, you were pretty humble. Well, you were both pretty humble as that's what I meant. You were both very humble, even though you were very, very well known. Well, okay. And our next guest, yes, please come in. Oh, yeah. I will talk a little bit about your appearance, but please come in. Okay. And yes. Welcome. Well, obviously, I was familiar with you as Marc, but when you get back into spirit, it's kind of surprising how your personality persona has changed or changes. Yeah. Versus what is known about you on Earth, right? Okay. Yes. So you are Jesus. Okay. You are Jesus, or you were Jesus, right? Okay. Yeah. And your energy. Yeah, we have talked to you before on the show. You were able to do some amazing things in a physical body. Yep. Okay, yeah, but we're talking more about current time. And you both wanted to come on the show today because you were both experts at bringing people together. Okay, people with differing viewpoints, people from different backgrounds, and you were able to bring them together. And you want to talk about how important that is, especially now. So that's why you wanted to come on the show. Okay, yeah, no, and you guys can talk. Yeah, you can talk to each other. Right. So if you have different opinions, go ahead and voice them. Okay, yeah, we like our guests to be very open and say it how it is, how you feel it. Okay, that's important. That's important. Okay, so yeah, so I just want to talk a little bit about you both personally. Obviously, everyone knows about who you were. Yeah. In your human physical lives. Elvis, yeah, what are you doing now? Okay, what are you doing now? And I just want to look a little bit at your energy. Okay, now you are what is, and where you both are, okay, what is considered what we call mega creators, meaning that you can, yeah, like my friend David, yeah, you can reach, yeah, when you're in the physical body, okay, when you're in, well, it depends on what you want to do now in spirit, but when you are in a physical body, you have the ability to reach millions of people. Well, yeah, I mean, Jesus was different because he didn't have, but your legacy lives on and has reached millions of people. Right. But yeah, obviously when you lived in the physical, that wasn't necessarily going to be an option for you. But you have that ability. And yeah, that is, well, it is fairly rare. But it's because of who you are in spirit that you were able to do that. Right. Because you have the knowledge, you have the, yeah, and this is, okay, let's just put this out there. These energies, both of you, okay, are very, well, I want to say large in order to give that description of you. Okay, so you are very large energies, very powerful energies, very pure energies, very high frequency energies. Okay, and that is what is going to be needed in order to do this type of work when you get into the physical. Now, yeah, we've talked to Elvis before, and both of you actually, about what you did as a physical being. So if any of our viewers would like to see those interviews, they can look back at that. We're more focused today on what is happening currently on the earth, okay, and what you have to say about it, okay. So, but wait, what? Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, no, I'll go back to that. I just wanted to talk about first, yeah, what are you doing now, Elvis? If anything, yeah, what are you doing? Are you yeah, what? Are you making any type of music? Are you, yeah, because obviously you can make music in spirit. Okay, what are you doing? Okay, he said no, he's not. Okay, so yeah, he's more focused on right now. And music, he is saying, is obviously different in spirit. It's created differently, but the outcome is the same, meaning it brings joy, it brings high vibrational energy. But he's saying, no, he was more, no, okay, he wants to point this out. Okay, so he is considered sometimes as being maybe a solo artist when he was on Earth. Now, of course, he had his backing band, but he wants to say that, yeah, without that backing band, he couldn't have done, well, he could have done it, but he wouldn't want to have done it. They were more than just musicians to him. They were, and he said whether or not you kind of agree with the setup back then is one thing, but he's saying right now, it's really important for him. The work that he's doing is a group effort, and that's the way he prefers it. Yeah. So he's saying, yes, he was known as maybe a mega star, and Elvis Presley, yeah, but he's saying that's not really who he is. He is, it's not that he didn't mind the attention, but he really prefers to work in a group setting. Right. So what are you doing now? Oh, and you both are collaborating. So this is a major announcement, actually. You are both collaborating on some work right now, right? So that's why you wanted to come in together. So yeah, tell us about that. What are you doing? Okay. So why they wanted to come on the show is basically this is what they're doing. This is really important to you, which is joining energies together. Okay, and yeah. So how are you going about that? Okay. Now, are you specifically concentrating on the Earth, other parts of the universe? Okay, so they're saying they have joined together and basically started what you would say a group company, right? And it is based on something that meant a lot to them as, in their physical human bodies and ever since then and before then, right? So why is this so important to you to join energies together? And is it just physical energies? Is it, no, they're saying anytime. Okay, so they're saying you can't build, okay, it's very hard to build, if you think about like a cell, okay, on the Earth or something, or a body, it's all parts, okay, it's parts. There's nothing that you're looking at now in your houses, they're saying, nothing. That is just really one cell. It has to be a mix-up of things joining together to make a whole. Right. So they're saying this is commonplace. This is understood. This is understood. Right. So they're looking at why their division is happening. Why, and on the Earth specifically, we're going to be talking about, but also throughout parts of the universe. Now, they're saying it all depends. It all depends on the evolution of what you're looking at, okay, and the frequency, and those are obviously combined, right? So every state of being is going through some type of evolution. It's creating new aspects of itself all the time, right? So it all depends on what you're looking at. They're saying there are certain energies, certain planets, certain star systems, parts of space that are joining, that are celebrating the aspect of joining of beliefs, joining energies, manifesting different realities for themselves. And they're not saying necessarily, which is what a proponent of the show, is that there aren't any right or wrongs. Okay, there aren't any right or wrongs. Everything is at an aspect of evolution for itself. And and we're talking about groups here as well. Okay, well, let's just, so this is a new, is it new for you? Is it something? No, they're saying no. Okay, but they are coming forward and talking about it more on Earth. And they might be coming and speaking to mediums or psychics or anyone, okay, on Earth. And some of those people may not know that this is actually who is behind this, but they don't really care about that. Okay, so let's talk specifically about what we haven't talked to Jesus about, what he's doing now. Okay, I'm terribly sorry. Well, this is what you're doing now, right? This is what you're doing now. And we want to talk a little bit about, at the end of the show, okay, I will ask you some questions about your human identities and personalities, and if you want to talk about that. Okay, okay, but let's talk about what you're doing now. Okay, so you're coming down here because you want to talk about manifesting unity. Okay, manifesting unity. Okay, and why do you think that it's so important right now? Why are you seeing so much division in let's just talk about the United States, okay? Because that's something that's very prevalent right now. But it's also important in other aspects of the world, obviously, right? So why are you seeing this now? Okay, so they're saying, in which we've talked about this before. In order for, expedient change to happen, oftentimes. Now, I mean, that could be 50 years. Okay, that could be 50 years, depending on what's happening overall, right? It could be 5 minutes, right? It just depends. In human time frame. But in order for maybe what would be considered fast change to take place, there's going to have to be. Well, there's not going to have to be, but usually there are, okay? And we've talked about this on the show. There's always energy that might be conflicting with each other, okay? And that's just how energy happens. It's not necessarily an anger type of energy. It's just that energy can bounce off of each other. energy does bounce off of each other. And that's how a lot of change happens, right? Right. Okay, so it seems that there's a lot now. Now, is that just a preconception, or is that just a conception, or is that really happening at this time in the world? Okay, they're saying no, it's not. Well, they're saying a lot of, and do we want to call it conflicts? We want to say it. That sounds like a very abusive term, but differences. Okay, differences, and it is. They're saying no, we can't actually call it that. And there could be a lot happening, but a lot of people aren't hearing about it. Now that's changing a little bit, but it all depends on where you're getting your information. Okay, so there are a lot of things happening on Earth that just aren't making it through to what they call mainstream media. Mainstream media, right. So yeah, there's a lot happening that people aren't really hearing about. Now that is changing a bit, but it's still being covered up. They're saying it's still being covered up. So why is it so prevalent right now? Okay, and yeah, so it does have to do with the frequency of the Earth. Okay, and we've talked about this before. There are energies that are not comfortable with the changes that the frequency of the Earth would want to do. Right, and it also involves all the humans on the Earth, because your decisions change how the planet. Now the planet is changing. Okay, the planet is going to change, but the humans are not helping that happen faster than it could be. Yep, because of what's happening to the planet. So that's where some conflict is coming in, or differences. Yeah, so that's kind of slowing things down a bit, even though the Earth is going to do what it is going to do. And it could happen sooner than later if the humans get on board with it. But there's obviously a lot of humans who do not want that. Now, they could be saying it as, religious beliefs, as you all know, political beliefs, religious beliefs. Yeah, and Diane has been wanting to ask this question. Why is it? Yeah. Why is it that certain people have to be better than others, or feel they have to be better than others, or that their opinion is what's prominent? And it has to be that. It has to be that. And if you don't have that opinion, then you're wrong, and you have to be subdued. It has to be subdued. So why is this happening? Why does it happen so much right now? Yeah. Okay. So Elvis, you want to answer that? Or you both? Okay. They're going to answer this together. Okay. They're saying, well, it's fear. It is fear. Okay. It is fear. It is insecurity. It is fear. Okay. And because again, these people, or this energy, or the energy behind these people, are frightened that what they believe in is not valid. Okay. And that will, it will destroy their belief in themselves, and they won't allow that to happen. They just will not allow. So they will do whatever within their means to stop that process from happening. Right. So it is. They're saying it is unfortunate. Obviously, it is unfortunate, but looking at the viewpoint of neutrality as. Yeah, well, it's not that spirit is neutral in everything. No. Neutral means that you can be in a neutral place, but have your own opinions. Have your own opinions, of course. But they are looking at it from, trying to look at it from as neutral a place as they can, because if they do not do that, then their bias will affect what they are doing. So you are both looking at it from as neutral as you can, because you understand what is happening. You understand why it's happening. And so, but you want to, obviously at the same time, promote unification. And so now you are going out and speaking with whoever you can about this. Okay, so that's the reason there's a lot. Oh, right. Let's talk about that. And why does this sometimes happen? And yes, Diane and I have been talking about this in our nightly sessions or meetings. Okay, yeah. And so when you come into a human body, okay, you're pretty much open as a spirit. You have your ideas, but you see yourself as a wonderful spirit being. Okay, and you don't. No. You're open. You're open to have this life, and then things start to happen to you. Energies conflict with you. Yeah, people or groups want to cause division. And it's up to you whether or not you accept that about yourself, okay? If you want to take that into your space and say, okay, well, they've been telling me this, and so it must be true about me. And, you know, so then it corrodes who you are as a spirit. And yeah, again, no right or wrong necessarily. It's what you want to experience. And when you come, obviously, into a human body, you are open to any type of experience. Or you could go the other way. You could say, okay, well, I don't know why you're doing this. And you get yourself out of positions where they are either demeaning, if you can with all your strength. So it's a long story about what happens to individuals. But this type of energy can be, if you choose not to get it out of your system or to say, no, this is not me, then it will basically fester. And then you become that energy. And if you have a low opinion of yourself, or if you feel you've been unjustly treated and don't try to heal that in your physical life, then it will manifest into whatever you want it to become. Yeah. So yeah, it's a very complicated process, and yet at the same time very simple, which is normally the case with everything, right? Right. Okay, so those are some of the reasons that things like this happen. And what are you doing now to unite energies? Okay. Well, they're saying it can be again complicated yet simple. Okay, because if you look at the rationale, are we looking at rationale? Okay, we can't. Yeah. If you're looking at the rationale for why these things happen, it becomes simple of how it can be remedied or how it can be changed. But if you're talking about humans on Earth, no change is going to come about unless they want it to happen, right? Right. And if you're in a group where whatever you're feeling is being propped up, so to speak, by others around you, then it just keeps, it just keeps building up momentum. Right. So, and it's true though. It's true whatever side you are, whatever side you are on, or if you're not on the side at all, that the same thing will happen no matter what you're doing in your life. Right. So if you're looking for manifesting change in your life, the momentum will grow the more focus you put on it. So it's the same thing. The more focus gets put on energies, the more it will evolve and manifest, right? Because that's how energy works. Okay. So what specifically are you doing in order to unite? Versus division. Okay. Well, they're saying, okay. They want to point out. Okay, they want to point out. It might seem like a really overwhelming thing to do. Okay. But they are focused on it, and this is what they thrive on doing. And when they came in, we can talk about that now a little bit. When you came into these physical bodies that you're so well known for right now, that was upmost in your mind. And Elvis, how did you do that? And how? Let me ask you that. Okay, how did you do it as Elvis, and what's important to you now about unifying energies? Okay, so he's saying obviously, okay, when he was Elvis, there was a lot of racial prejudice. Which he did not go for, which he said no. He had very strong religious beliefs, and he felt everyone was equal, right? So he said he stood up for his beliefs on that, okay? And then with music, okay? Now he's saying he obviously, you feel now, right? He may not have made the best choices based upon circumstances around him. Would you do it differently now? Would you? Okay, so he's saying what he's proud of most is giving his all to his music. Okay, it may not have been the material he necessarily wanted to be doing, right? But he put his all into it, and that was important to him, right? So and Okay, what? Yeah. So he's saying it was important to him. Okay, so much like myself as Marc, okay, music was so important to your life, right? So creating music, and he's saying how music made him feel. Okay, and that goes back to when you were growing up and you heard the choirs, right? The choirs, how that raised it raised who you felt you were. Okay, you could have been, So he's saying it gave him kind of self-worth in the sense of knowing that there was a higher source or power. Well, not power necessarily, but it led you, and that's very much the same way, even though mine wasn't necessarily religious, but knowing that there was a universal force, can we call it that? A universal force that was omnipotent, and was there for all of us, right? And that's where we would return to. Right. And and this is what's important too, and I felt that as well, that we were all part of the same thing. Okay, we were all part of the same thing. So it didn't make sense to Elvis, he's saying, when people would try to segregate others, because he understood that wasn't, it wasn't, well, not logical too, but it wasn't the energy he wanted to be involved in. Right. And I felt the same way. Okay, so and so you're doing, how does that relate to what you're doing now? Okay, he said it relates exactly to what he is doing now and what he feels. So yes, I'm seeing that you, and we've seen this before on the show when you did do a concert, you did do a musical concert, and it was bringing a lot of different energies together, massive amounts of energies together. You're saying you do still do the musical concerts, but not necessarily as a one spirit show. You have others who come on the show and unite. Okay, but if you're not doing music, how are you doing this? Okay, so he's saying, so kind of infiltrating is what he's saying in this new company, basically, or line that you were both working on. You go in wherever you can. Okay, and it could be. And it could be you're working with humans. You are working with humans under the guise of spirit. It could be motivation. You could be coming in as motivation, because spirits do have agreements with other spirits who are in human bodies right now. Mm-hmm. So you will be in the right place at the right time to promote somebody with a new idea, or you will be at a gathering. And and be there in spirit, but also as you have agreements with others, spirits, and who are there in human bodies, right? And it's working with energy. It's working with energy. Now they're saying, no. They're saying obviously there's a point where they are not going to go in and manipulate other humans into thinking what they are thinking. No. They are working in collaboration with those who have already said that they will work with them. Right. Because, spirit, unless it's some extreme circumstance, spirit and the universe do not really interfere with the human, not condition, but human vibes necessarily, because, you're there to lead the life that you want to lead and join with others around you. So that's creating that vibe for you. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Now, we don't have too much longer. So Jesus, I want to talk to you a little bit. Okay. Now you're saying, let's talk a little bit about your life on earth. Now, obviously you're really famous, right? You're really famous. You're really, 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 really famous. Okay. And did you perceive that when you were Jesus? He's like, well, no. Not in a personal. I mean, you obviously knew that you were I'm not saying special, because everyone's special, but you knew you had a definite purpose at that time, right? And it was to bring others together. There was a lot of political conflict. There were people being unjustly slaves. There were and so you chose to come in when you came in, obviously. And so that's what you're saying. Teaching, okay? Waking up in the sense of seeing others' position, okay, was important to you. And having, yeah, so he's saying he put out there what he felt was his, yeah, what your belief, what you felt strongly about, what you knew needed to be said at that time. And how much about, yeah, were you really, how forceful were you, or did you feel internally about changing others' opinions? Okay, well, he said he knew enough about energy to know that other people's opinions couldn't be changed unless they wanted to be. But he said he was going to present his feelings, his knowledge to those around him, and it was up to them to make up their own mind. Okay? And so that's what you're saying, that's what you are both doing now as well. You can only present your viewpoint and what you feel is strong. Yeah, your strong opinions about something. But they're saying they're also wanting to see it from all perspectives. Okay, all perspectives. So you realize that there are going to be conflicting energies in everything. And this is the way things should be, because this is how change comes about. So you are wanting to unite different conflicting energies based on knowing, right, that is how change is going to be about. But you, yeah, so you're trying to bring energies together to work together, okay? And you're doing it in whatever means you can without interference. Right, okay, great. Yeah, I think, yeah, our time's pretty much running out, but I wanted to thank you both for coming on the show. And yeah, we all, we all wish you the best with your new, well, I would say, it's not really a company, but your collaboration. Okay, thank you very much for coming on the show. Yeah, this is Marc signing off for this week, and we'll see you soon.